Hello everyone, and these are the terms for the final list of vocabulary words for this year. Congratulations. And here we go. Okay, hopefully you were able to copy and paste these into your notes and we can begin. All right, out of these 6 words, I'm looking for a verb that means to be influenced by or to be disengaged from. We might use it in terms of a baby. After he's done with his mother's milk, he is weaned from her milk. So our definition would be to be influenced by. Biff Loman was weaned on the idea that he was an Adonis and he was very successful and didn't have to work at being successful, that people would just bend over for him, they would make concessions for him. To be influenced by or disengaged from. In that sense, it was to be influenced by. He was weaned on Willie's aphorisms and cliches. Okay, a written guarantee is a warranty. That's easy enough. A little puppy or a young boy or a little cub is called a whelp. And if you were to stop and interrupt someone, or maybe even ambush or attack them, you could say that you were waylaid. We can apply this to the place where the 3 roads meet in the famous tragedy, where the main character is waylaid or ambushed or attacked by an entourage that are traveling with King Laius. This is a word we often hear with regard to the moon. We say that when it waxes, it becomes larger, to increase. But we can also wax nostalgic, which means to think, to begin to think or to speak, or to write. We could say that the speaker in this poem waxes nostalgic about better days, bygone days. That's the speaker in Autumn Song, Paul Verlaine's poem. And if you're careful or cautious or circumspect, you could be called wary. You're cautious, you're careful, you're circumspect, like as Krogstad is. When it comes to Christine's profession of love, he's somewhat wary. He's not really sure that she's telling the truth, especially when he finds out that her main reason for asking him over was intercepting the letter. Okay, here we have our next group of words. I don't know how they wound up on the same line, but no matter, we'll make it work. To shrivel up and to dry out is to wither. To shrivel up or to become dry. You could say that a body part can shrivel up, or you could talk about someone's feelings of hope. Willie Loman's dreams of success are withering as we begin the play. He's in his 60s. He has nothing really to say in terms of his accomplishments, or at least that's how he feels. To suppress or to refuse to give is to withhold. To withhold information, for example. To refuse to give, to suppress. Willie withholds information about his salary and how little he's making. He's working on straight commission. To separate or divide or to remove from a group is to winnow. To separate or to divide or to remove from a group is to winnow. You may have heard this in terms of to winnow the wheat from the chaff, to winnow the number of contestants from 10 to 5. If somebody is stubborn or obstinate, you could say that they are willful. This is what Torvald says Nora is. She must have her way. Stubborn, headstrong, Little Miss Willful. Little Miss Obstinate, he calls her, actually. To sharpen or to stimulate is to whet. We hear this word often when it comes to appetite. Sometimes just smelling food can whet your appetite. To stimulate, to sharpen. And if you flinch, or if you show an expression that's a grimace, it could be considered wincing. So to flinch is to wince, or as a noun, a grimace. If you have a wince or show a wince, like Candide as he runs through the gauntlet, he winced, verb in pain. And then lastly, we know that to whittle something is to carve, as in a piece of wood. You whittle wood, right? But it also can mean to diminish or to lessen, to reduce in size. Okay, moving right along, we have our next group. We can use this word as a noun or a verb, and it can mean the full amount, or it could mean to give way to, and that would be to yield. The farm did not, the yield of the farm was not abundant this year, the full amount. Or if you have to yield, you have to give way to. Karen has to yield to the words of Virgil when he is told that he must ferry both Dante and Virgil across the river into hell proper. When you say that someone can endure or weather many things, you could say that they can withstand it. To withstand is to endure, to weather. To remain undamaged by. If you think back to sophomore year and you remember Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, that dealt with God's wrath. Jonathan Edwards tells us so many different ways in which God is upset with us, how God hates us, he is angry with us. So wrath is anger, resentment, antagonism. Some heartache or suffering would be woe, heartache, sorrow, suffering. As a matter of fact, on the gateway to hell in Dante's Inferno, you will see in the inscription that this is the pathway to woe. Just break this word down, witless, so that means having no brains. Someone who's witless is foolish or stupid. Something that is inane. And obviously we know that a wrench is a tool, but as a verb, to wrench something is to pull it or twist it. To pull or twist. You wrenched your ankle, or you wrenched someone's arm, as Beowulf wrenches the shoulder out of the socket of Grendel. It can also mean just simply to injure. Right? Okay, here we go. Last bunch of the year. We just had the word summit, and on this list, hopefully you can pick out the synonym for summit, which is zenith, right? Zenith is pinnacle, apex, highest point. Summit, since that's a word we just had, you could tell that Dis is not at the zenith of his power anymore if he is frozen in the ice and flapping his wings trying to get out. The noun form of a yoke is the wooden crossbar that you use on a plow. but we will use it in terms of a verb, and to be yoked to something is to harness or to fasten it. Right? He was yoked with the task of trying to figure out a way out of Moscow in the midst of all that snow. Someone who is zany is eccentric. Someone who is crazy, bizarre. When someone mentions the word yore, the days of yore, they're mentioning things that were from long ago, of long ago times. Think about Don Quixote. He is enamored of the knights of yore, the chivalric knight-errants who were sallying forth to right all wrongs, right? Those knights of yore. And lastly, we have zeal and zealot. Zeal means enthusiasm, as many of you probably know, and ardor and fervor, all those are synonyms for the same idea. But if zealot is almost has a negative connotation, because a zealot is a fanatic, an extremist. And there you have it, the last set of definitions for the final unit, Unit 25.